Whatever topics I'm just writing, can you tell me is all right? You know what is Hermitian matrix?
Yes, sir.
Uh, Very quickly, can one of you tell what is the Hermitian matrix?
A equal to a dagger.
And dagger is transpose star, right?
Conjugators.
Yes. So, what are the properties of the Hermitian matrix?
The Hermitian matrix is a real eigenvalues.
Okay. And about eigenfunctions?
Huh?
Yes.
Anything about the eigenfunctions? Any property about the eigenfunctions of the Hermitian operator or matrix?
Ortho.
Orthonormal, right?
Orthonormal.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So let me write down. Let's say that I have an matrix eigenvalue equation of this kind. So lambda I is the eigenvalue, and x superscript I is the corresponding column matrix. This is the matrix A. This is my x of I. I hope it's okay. This is lambda I, and then the matrix x of I. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So let's say it's an n by n matrix. Then x of I essentially means there are n elements which are written in the following manner: x1I, x2I, up to xni. This is the ith eigenvector. Then what this theorem says is that not only the lambda is a real, xi's are orthonormal. Okay? And now the theorem does not say directly. It actually says that it is possible to construct orthonormal eigenfunctions, which means the theorem would tell you that if lambda is a not degenerate, they're automatically orthonormal from the Hermitian matrix. And if they're degenerate, then you can still make a linear combination of in the degenerate subspace to make them orthonormal. Is it clear? This is exactly how we have proved the Hermitian operator. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So I hope you remember that Hermitian operator case also we could prove very easily for the non-degenerate case. For the degenerate case, we said that although they may in the beginning they may be non-orthogonal, non-orthonormal, I can always construct by linear combination like Gram-Schmidt. There are several other procedures. We will discuss that later. But finally, it is possible, and because it's a linear combination in the degenerate subspace, the eigenvalues continue to remain the same. Is it clear? Okay. Now, if I have an n by n matrix, how many eigenvalues will be there?
N, sir.
Matrix is Hermitian, of course. So there will be n eigenvectors also, correct? Hello? If there are n eigenvalues, there will be n eigenvectors, correct?
Yes, sir.
Each eigenvector has n numbers. Eigenvector is n length. If I put a matrix following way, the first column is x, column is x. You understand? First column is the first eigenvector. Column is second eigenvector. I will have an x.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what is the square matrix? Normal. Any law? Now I want to know what is there any property done it or not? Hope you can prove this. All of you prove. so that understand from the definition. So please, he goes. And now saying vectors are first I defined a diagonal matrix by n matrix. In the eigenvalue, I'm saying unequal AU I want to lambda all n. So Bob U equal to UD tens as if you care of assignment,
So very
not taught but revise. So we'll see that A is what I have got. But this then I can do this by dagger U and I,
yes, sir.
I'm now saying I very nice that A has been unitarily transformed, or there is a unitary transformation of this matrix A such that transform matrix diagonal. Right? So many times eigenvalue equation solved. How do I solve the eigenvalue? These are put following. Find out a unitary transformation that from matrix becomes diagonal. Let me rewrite the find table. That's your problem to get unitary transformation such that formed of course when I say matrix I want to remind you that it's a Hermitian matrix. It's diagonal. If you can find this, job is done. Understand what I'm saying? Because as soon as I find U, I will know all the xi. As soon as I find U, it transforms it to a diagonal form. I will know all the lambdas. The entire thing then be done. Just 1 minute. Just wait a minute. Class. Class now. Seven o'clock. Back from where? College. I've been writing to you. आज ही 6 to 7 रोज दे रहे हैं आज ही. Bye. Yeah, so sorry. So if I can find, I have done the entire job because many parallel, the eigenvalue equation is always put like this, that it is the job is to find a suitable unitary transform. That the transform matrix, the Hermitian matrix is diagonal. What is interesting also note, it is always possible. I rewrite in a different manner. It is possible to find a unitary transform of a Hermitian matrix such that such that the transform matrix also true. It is possible. So given any Hermitian matrix, we will assume it can be made diagonal by unitary transform. And if I can make it diagonal, that is how many of the procedures like Jacobi, Householder, which diagonalizes the entire matrix works. It tries to slowly remove the off-diagonal element. Sequence of transformations, product of which will be unitary. Sequence of transformation. As that slowly all the off-diagonal elements move, matrix becomes diagonal. That is how, if you the eigenvalue equation, algorithms, those are also interested in programs, you can even try to write a program. You can see that it can be very easily done, very nicely, and you learn a lot of things. So this A and B actually send us. We'll see whether it's a practice or assignment, but you at least submit to us. Okay, in the VLAN you can submit the A and B. I need not write it. I hope you have written it down. So one is that show that this matrix U, which is composed of the n orthonormal eigenvectors put in columns, okay, in sequence, is an unitary matrix, and the n eigenvalue equation can be written in this form. Or reverse, you can show that this contains the n eigenvalue equation where D is a diagonal matrix. So please note down in your own handwriting. I want to see how much you are capturing, and then of course this. So the problem ends here. So now I am trying to tell you that if you make an unitary transformation, then the transform matrix will become diagonal, and our job is to find such a suitable unitary transformation. Okay? Is it all right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, good, very good. So if you know this much about the eigenvalue equation, that's very good for us to push forward that whenever there's a Hermitian matrix, and in fact, Hermitian operators also have a Hermitian matrix. Later you'll see they have this form of that you can have unitary transformation. Now let me look at some of the properties of a matrix. So of course you know how to calculate determinant of a matrix, right? So determinant of A. How will you calculate determinant of A? Is it very easy to calculate?
Yes, sir. It's easy.
How?
Multiplying all lambda,
Multiplying by?
all lambda eigenvalues.
No. Oh, you will find out all the eigenvalues. Okay.
Yes,
And then? Yeah, fine. Then
the multiplication of all eigenvalues.
okay, good. Can you show why?
Because U is unitary, so U dagger is also unitary. So a determinant of D will be determinant of A.
I see. Okay, good. All right. So that's very good. So you can do it. So if I now ask you to find out another matrix, which is, let's say, A to the power half, how will you find out? Or let's say A to the power 100 or 1000, very high number. How will you find out?
I have to diagonalize it. First diagonalize the matrix. Then
Okay, so I diagonalize the matrix. So I get A equal to UD. Then
multiply with U dagger and power of 100.
half power of what? Which one?
The diagonal matrix. That's
To the power half. This is easy to calculate, right?
yes, sir.
Now then what do I do? That's all. I have to calculate A to the power half. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah. See, this class I'm using mostly for discussion because that is the whole idea. That we have 4 hour, actually 3 hour lecture, 1 hour for discussion. So this I thought I'm not going to actually formally do, just wanted to know how much you know. So actual quantum class can resume on Monday, no problem. So let me know how much you know. All right, so d to the power half is fine. After that, what do I do? Because I need to calculate a to the half. Of course, a to the half is not equal to d to the half, right? Do you agree? I mean, unlike in the case of determinant, where a and d have the same determinants, here it's not true. Nobody can do it. I just want to know. So who answered this d to the half? What is his name?
Polynomial.
Okay. Why did you say d to the half? If you don't know after that what to do?
Then need to the equation, characterize this equation, that is the eigenvalue equation.
I have solved this. I told you. any Hermitian, the matrix is Hermitian, incidentally. This matrix is Hermitian matrix, okay? So I'm making life easy. So I have solved this. I know D, I know U. So characteristic equation is solved. After that, what do I do to get a to the half? That's the question.
Then multiply both sides in a bracket.
Which one? D to the half.
D to the power half.
Well, which side will be U dagger, right or left?
Left side a bracket.
Okay. That's it?
Yes, sir.
No, that's not true. That's not true. How will you do a to the 1000? Same way, you will diagonalize, get d to the half, and then U dagger, right?
For this, there is d to the power 1000.
Okay, so this one I think you don't know. I think you know, but you're not able to express maybe properly. So let me say I take any a to the n. First, let me understand how to calculate a to the n. Obviously, I'm not going to multiply a n times. That's a pretty bad way of doing it, right? Too many multiplications, not good. Even if I multiply a square times a square, by the time I reach very high number, it's now too many multiplications. So the first thing you are right is to diagonalize. So AU equal to UD. This is easy. I do that. For every Hermitian matrix, I have unitary matrix transformation. Now I have to calculate a to the n. So note that U dagger AU equal to D. Right? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Good. Very good. So now I take a to the n is like this. A, n times. Correct? I transform the same a, instead of a, I write a to the n and transformed it by u. What do I get? Let me see first. So I start with this expression and let's see what happens. Between each of the pair of a's, I substitute a u dagger. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So it will go on like this. Till the end, U dagger AU. How many such U dagger AU will be there? N times.
Yes.
Because there are NA. One of them extra U dagger is coming because I am transforming U dagger and U. Correct?
Yes.
So I will have N times U dagger AU. Each of the U dagger AU is D. So that will be D to the power N. Correct? So I have shown now that U dagger A to the power N U is D to the power N. If U dagger AU is D, it's very simple. U dagger A to the N U is D to the N.
Sir, but it will work if n is an integer, right?
Yes, of course, I'm talking about A to the
Natural.
1000. 1 minute,
Oh,
I will come to
okay.
that. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is okay. You agree?
Okay.
Now what you do a reverse transformation. Multiply U on this side, U dagger on this side. So you get U and U dagger. Now you see what will happen. This will become identity. This will become identity. So what is A to the N? It is U, D to the N, U dagger. So you are right that you have to do D to the N. But after that, it is not U dagger. I'm not talking about D to the half, D to the N. After that, it is not U dagger on the left. It is actually U on the left, U dagger on the right. So it is also a unitary transformation, but I will call it a reverse unitary transformation. So you will remember. What do you mean by reverse unitary transformation? A was transformed in the following manner to give D. From D, I get D to the N, and then I do a D to the N reverse transformation to get to A to the N. It is obvious. Because if A transforms by U to D, A to the N transforms by the same U to D to the N. But I want to get, after doing this, because this is easy to construct, so I have to do a reverse transformation. Reverse means left will be U, right will be U dagger. Will you remember? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, of course, N is an integer. That's correct. Now let's try to do this for any function of A. Just like a function of a variable, I can write this as Cn integer A to the n. Right? And I can apply the same condition for each A to the n. Then it is very easy to see that f of A will now become sum over n Cn. For A to the n, I'm going to write this u d to the n u dagger. A is already diagonalized. Correct? So then I'm going to write sum over n u Cn d to the n u dagger. Because Cn is a number. So Cn can come anywhere. So what I'm trying to do is to say that this same thing I write sum over n Cn d to the n, then reverse transformation just like here. And now if a function of A is Cn a to the n, what is Cn d to the n? It is exactly the same function of d. Do you understand? Please see this very carefully. Function of A is Cn a to the n, sum. A to the n is u d to the n u dagger, sum over n Cn. That's a function of A. Now I'm writing Cn inside, sum over n, u and u dagger on the outside. So this becomes function of d, reverse transformation. So whatever is the function of A that I have asked you to do the same thing for the d, and then do a reverse transformation. So if I do A to the half, first do A u d, then do d to the half, and do u dagger. That's your A to the half. Is it okay? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear to everybody?
Yes, sir.
So you almost did this, but you didn't complete. So what if I give you whatever A to the power 1/3, just do d to the 1/3. And then do reverse transformation. That's very important. U on the left, u dagger on the right. Because I have already showed that for an integer A to the n, this is very important, what I showed. I mean, it is a sequence of proof. I hope you understand. And then I'm saying any function of A can always be written as this. It's like a power series expansion, which I do for a function of variable. That can be done for function of matrices also. And then I apply the same technique to each A to the n. And then manipulate and then say that sum over n Cn d to the n can be reverse transformed.
Sir, but where you write, sir,
Yeah.
so where you write an equals to u dn u dagger, that is valid for integers only. But
Which one?
Pro-
Which one you're talking about? An?
this
Yeah.
line, if
Yeah, this is integer. This is integer.
yes,
So any function like a to the half. If I have a to
this is
the
power
half,
series.
it's a power series, so they're integer. Integer power series. So no problem. N equal to 0 to
acha.
infinity. What is the
Okay.
problem?
Okay, sir, okay, understand.
And then I'm saying for each integer I'm doing this. So here also it's an integer. So this becomes exactly the same function.
Okay, sir.
You understand? If a to the half is sum Cn a to the n, then d to the half is also same Cn with d to the n. Same Cn. You understand?
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
This formula is given to me. What are the Cn? I'm applying the same Cn, and this will work for any other matrices. The same function. So, very simple logic is that whatever I have given you to do, first to diagonalize anyway. Whatever it is, you diagonalize. That's the first thing to do. Then the diagonalized matrix, you take a function. And then always remember, you have to do transformation. So somebody said d to the half and put u dagger here. It's a transformation. So something on the left, something on the right. But it is not u dagger on the left. U on the left, u dagger on the right. Because I have written it in this manner. So whatever transforms A to D, function of D to function of A will naturally reverse transformation because it is going like this. You are coming like this, right? Function. Of course, that time it becomes a function. Is it clear? It's very easy to remember actually. operationalize very easily. Whatever I am trying to do for a function of A is the same thing. You do take the function of D and then do a reverse transformation. So whatever is function of A I want to take, function of D you take, then transform it. So here to here is U dagger on the left, U on the right. Here it will be U on the left, U dagger on the right. Is it clear? And I have actually proved it. I have proved it. Okay. Anyway, I have proved it. Because this will be very important for us. A to the half, I can do A to the minus half, and so on. Later on, when Hartree-Fock will be done, you will see that the first step of a Hartree-Fock method is actually to do such a transformation. Inverse square root, etc. And that the context you will see later. And that time, remember how to do it. That is why this mathematics is important. Okay? All right. Okay, you know a little bit about the linear algebra, vector space, so that you know that if there is a set of functions, phi1, phi2 to phi n, which is a complete set. I mean, I'm of course writing a finite complete set. It can be infinite set. Then any function psi can be written as Cn phi n. Remember, don't get confused with this. This is power series expansion. This is an expansion on a complete basis. So I can write Ci phi I to be, because n I've used here. Oh, this is small n capital. It doesn't matter. It's okay. So I equal to 1 to n. Is this known to all of you, right? Then I can expand any function in terms of a complete set of functions. Is it known to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes,
Good. I can write this in a Dirac notation. I think all of you know this, right? Vector space is sum over I Cn phi I. Correct? So that I don't write what are the variables. I simply write an abstract Ket space and say that this C is equal to, sum over, Ci phi I. Is this okay? Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. Now I know that the matrix A, which is Hermitian, has eigenvalues or an eigenfunction. So I'm going to write it in Dirac notation, the same thing that I did before. So I wrote down the eigenvalue equation of the matrix. This can be done for operator, as operator and matrices go in a very similar manner. So I just thought I will let you know that, what did I write? This A, xi, etc., lambda xi. So this I'm now writing in a slightly different notation, that A phi I equal to lambda I phi I. Right? And then I'm saying any phi j with phi I is equal to delta ij, and lambda I is a real. So that's equal to lambda I star. Correct? You agree? A is Hermitian, of course. Right? Hello? This is writing the
Yes, sir.
orthonormality condition in Dirac notation. All of you are comfortable, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good, very good. Okay, so now I want to do some interesting thing here. And that is a very interesting thing, what is called the resolution of identity. You know what is an identity, right? Identity is an operator, or identity is a matrix which acts on a function or a vector to keep it unchanged. Correct? Any vector, it will just remain unchanged. So nothing will happen to the vector. I will give you a problem. Given these orthonormal eigenvectors that I have given, can you show that this summation over the complete set, let's say it's a complete, is equal to an identity. So this can be operator, matrix, doesn't matter. If in metric space will become matrix, you can take it in operator and just acting on a function. So this can be kept. So it's a very, can somebody proved it anytime? So please remember, this is very different from this. It is the ket and the bra. So you cannot do integration. This is not an integration. It is actually phi I star. And no integration is assumed here. Can anybody prove it?
Yes, sir.
You can. Yeah. How will you prove? Tell me.
So just put side by bracket
Huh?
first. So the left and right hand side by psi.
Psi. Any psi, any arbitrary psi.
Any arbitrary, sir.
Okay.
An operator only.
So psi, phi I, right? And phi I sine. So what will happen after that?
We can expand psi as summation ci phi I.
Yes, no problem. So what will be these values? There will be the coefficient, right?
Yes,
That
coefficients.
should be summation of Ci square.
Ci
Yes,
square, right? Ci
that will
square.
be
Ci
one.
That
star.
will be 1.
Okay. But that's 1, right? I mean, I wanted to do identity matrix. It's okay. So you have actually shown that the matrix element of I with psi equal to 1. It does not show that the whole matrix is identity, right? Because you have put psi here. So what you have shown me is that the psi, whatever is the operator, let's say the operator is some C or identity here. You have just shown me this is equal to 1. Does it mean that this is identity? So I have said this is the operator here, let's say.
Sir, if
It doesn't necessarily mean, right? You understand what I'm saying? So your proof is incomplete.
sir,
What I need is the following, that if an operator is there or a matrix is there on any arbitrary psi, it should give you psi for any psi. Now you think.
yes, sir, that follows from the definition of psi.
Yes. So now tell me, I have to show. So this is my left hand side. What is the left hand side? A psi. Now you tell me what to do.
Sir, as
A is given here, sum over phi I.
so you can expand psi as told by
Okay, very good. So psi equal to Ci phi I.
yeah, and
That
just
expansion is given. Now A psi. So what do? A is sum over phi I. Now I'm writing A. Now I hope you can see it.
yes, sir.
Now you see what is sum over I? This is what? This is Ci. Right? This is Ci, correct? This Ci is nothing but phi I psi, correct? So then I get Ci phi I, which is nothing but psi itself. So that's the expansion, right? Is it clear?
Yes.
So I started with any A acting on any psi. I did not assume. I'm showing that I get back psi. So then I can say that this quantity A is nothing but an identity operator. This A operator is an identity operator. So I've assumed A equal to this. I did A psi and I showed that I've got back psi. So that is called an identity operator. So an identity operator is over the entire space of eigenvectors. If I do ket bra, that's an identity. Of course, by definition, identity operator is an idempotent operator because you know I square equal to I and so on. And this you can see from here. If I do I square, what will happen? If I don't know this, sum over I think you should be able to play out this algebra. That's why I'm doing it. I equal to 1 to n. That is one identity. Another identity will be, again, same thing. But now you have to use a separate dummy index. Please remember. Phi j, phi j. Right? So you have this multiplication. So what will happen now? Sum over ij. I'm now putting double summation. Phi I, phi j. Dirac notation is very beautiful actually. Phi j. So this part is now integrated, correct? But that is delta ij. So it is sum over ij, phi I, phi j, delta ij. Which means I must be equal to j. So this is sum over I, phi I, phi I. Over. Which is nothing but the operator that I started with, identity operator. So of course identity operator is idempotent, you know that, but I'm just trying to do this exercise to tell you how to manipulate. This is a nice, don't use I and I here. That's not necessary. You can use j, and because they're orthonormal, it will anyway become j equal to I. Now this is important because I may have a matrix, I may have a summation over the orthonormal eigenvectors, which is not complete. So let's say I equal to m, where m is less than n. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So this will not be identity, because you know in identity I had to do sum over all, but then only I get back the ci phi I overall, then only I'll get psi. So this is not identity, but I call it some operator P. Now, I can apply the same technique and show that the P square is also equal to P, where it is not trivial, because this is not identity. By the same technique. So I will say that what is P square? It is sum over I, get phi I, conjugate phi I equal to 1 to m. So that is my P, and another P will exactly like this, but I put a separate dummy index, phi j, right, 1 to m. And then I put both I and j, 1 to m, phi I, and now I open it up, phi j here, which is k, phi j. Exactly the way I did. This is now delta ij. So you have only sum over I, 1 to m, phi I. Right? Are you all in sync? And this is the same as the P operator. So even if,
Sir, that part
if
where
the summation,
m
yeah.
is less than n.
1 minute, tell
Sir,
me.
okay, sir.
Yeah. So M is, so it is not a complete set. I have the complete set of function, but I am taking only a subset to construct an operator.
Okay.
This operator will no longer be identity operator, right? But what I am trying to tell that even if I do a subset, this condition still satisfies.
Yes, sir.
For identity, it was trivial, but I just showed you how to do it. Exactly follow the same procedure. You can show any subset if I sum ket bra. If they're orthonormal, it will become P square equal to P. And of course, if P square is equal to P, any P to the power n is also equal to P. Correct? P cube is P square into P, so it will continue. Such operators are called idempotent operators. I hope you have heard this, right? Whichever has square equal to itself or cube equal to itself are called idempotent operator. So I'm now saying that if I have a set of vectors and I just sum over a subset, then this operator is an idempotent operator. Not necessarily identity, but idempotent operator. Very often, such operators are also called projection operators. Again, this will be very, very useful as we go forward. So that's the reason I'm using this 1 hour to do the maths. You will very clearly see if it acts on any function psi, then it will project out from that function the contribution of this M subspace. As you can very quickly see, that P acting on any psi will give you sum over I equal to 1 to capital M, phi I psi. What is phi I psi? It's a Ci, right? So you will get the contribution of these M functions in psi I. This will not give you psi, but this at least will give you the contribution of this M ket vector in psi. Only M, because it is not complete set. If it is complete anyway, you'll get back psi. We know that. Because that's an identity operator, right? This is not identity operator, but in a sense, do the same algebra, you will get a subset of psi. And I am saying, that's why I am saying it is called a projection operator. And projection operators are, however, idempotent. Is it okay? Yeah, I'll close here today, but just pretty quickly, I will just want to revise this last part. That I first said that given these functions, this is the first condition, that sum over all the ket bra, it's an identity operator. And you said take psi equal to 1, but that's the restricted proof. So the real proof is that you act this function to act on any psi. And you can see that I can get such a relation, and I will get it. If psi is already Ci phi I, I'll get back the same Ci phi I, which is nothing but psi. And it's a complete space. I said that the identity operator is obviously idempotent. That you know, because it is I, so I square must be equal to I. But I'm starting from this ket bra notation and trying to show that it is idempotent by the fact that I have a delta ij here. Okay? So phi I, phi j, delta ij. Then I said, I'm going to define a very similar operator, but not identity, but in a subset. That's why I wrote M is less than N. And I'm showing that that operator, also like identity operator, is a idempotent operator. And the proof goes exactly like this. That was a N, that is a M, but here complete space was not required. So I will get the same P. So P square is equal to P, P to the power N equal to P. Then I'm showing that this P operator is very special, that it acts on a function, automatically distills out the contribution of this M number of phi i's from that function, from any arbitrary function. Please let me know, huh? And the Dirac notation is very useful, actually, to, go ahead and do this. It's very, very useful, I tell you. And remember, it is so good that as soon as the ket bra comes together, that becomes an integral. And that simplifies the whole life. Are there any questions? So can I convert, since your 1 week is over, can I convert those 2 practice problems into an assignment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So once again, I can write it down.
Okay, sir. No problem.
Yeah, but I think if you
Yes,
have already noted it, I'll be happy. So note it from here that this is the matrix eigenvalue equation. Then I have defined a U. I have defined a D, which is the diagonal matrix of all lambda I. So first show that this U is unitary. Then you define the D and show that AU equal to UD contains all the n eigenvalue equations. So A and B, please write it down. I will try to send this slide anyway. So whatever is practice problem gets converted to So this practice problem will get converted to homework. Because at the end of the class, we are not going to give too many assignments, but at least 4 or 5 or 6. Because I thought today, this is the mathematics, so I can give an assignment a little early. After that, we'll see. Then there'll be class test, and then there'll be a mid-semester exam and so on. And I think we have already discussed the marks evaluation, right? Can somebody refresh me?
Yes, sir. In sem 30, mid sem 30, and internal assessment 40 marks.
40. So out of internal assessment, we can do 20 assignment, 20 class tests, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Sangeeta, please note it down. Huh?
Yeah.
So this is class test, this is assignment, and 30 end sem, 30 mid sem. Okay. So we will take, let's say, at least 4 or 5 of each class test and assignment. Okay. We will accordingly mark you. So this is a little early assignment, but that always helps us not to give another assignment for 2-3 weeks. Okay. We'll probably go to the class test next time. All right. So I think we'll close it now. The next class is, don't forget, that will be again your first class. Huh? Next class, Monday. So
Yes, sir,
that will be
Monday
an
9.
immediate class after this. You can't have another class, I think, before that, probably.
Yes, sir.
Or is there a class at 8 o'clock? I doubt. So
No,
this
sir.
will be your next class, huh? Remember. All right. So I think we'll close it today. I think it was good to do this mathematics because it would be useful. All right. So I'll come back here, stop the broadcast.